What's going on, everybody? Today is Wednesday, April 16th. That's right, we're going right after the episode this week. There's a first time for everything. And today we're going to be recapping episode 8 of Survivor 48, the final 10. This was a pretty solid episode. We got some lot of moving parts going into next week, I think. Chrissy is going to ultimately go home unanimously, but yeah, I thought we had a decent fight at Tribal Council. Been a while since we got something like
It's
that.
been a
No,
while, yeah, since a genuine disagreement. You get a couple
yeah,
old school type players, and you just have old school type of disagreements. I like it though. We're recording before they gray out Chrissy's name and face on the Survivor wiki, so I gotta remember that she just went home. How could I forget that she just went home? She
yeah,
deserved to go home. That was
in
a
a blaze of
horrible,
glory.
horrible showing at Tribal.
Yeah, so
Absolute meltdown.
she's just openly talking. She's openly against this group of the strong five,
She's openly against the majority of players left in the game. Good,
and
good strategy.
she will not stop talking about it. Um, I mean, so I do agree with the general sentiment of being like, hey guys, there's an obvious majority, and if you're not in it, you should probably do something. I totally agree with that. I don't falter for that. I don't get why at the small tribal council where you're just trying to survive last week, she openly says like, "Hey, we should get rid of people like David and Joe is sitting right there." And then she doubles down again this week. She's like, "Hey, remember when I said we should get rid of all the strong people like David and Joe? We should do that again." And then David pushes back and she's like, "Oh, I'm not upset. I'm just
Yeah, yeah, no,
I'm not upset. I'm just saying how I feel, which
yeah.
is not happy."
It really, I hate when people do that. It really chaps my ass when people do that, because she like makes an argument and then gets pushback on her argument and says, "Well, no, I'm not arguing with you. I'm just telling you how I feel, and now you're yelling at me."
Right.
Like that's not what happened at all. You were
Yeah,
literally attacking specific people, and then they come back at you, and you say, "Well, that's just how I feel. I wasn't attacking you. Now you're attacking me." That's not what happened.
yeah. Yeah, that's the thing is I'm like I just said, you can say this can be your strategy if you're Chrissy. Just don't expect David and Joe to not say something back
Just don't
because
expect it to work.
right. Well,
Well, like that the thing I think what we're getting at is that you can have this opinion and this strategy, but the way to go about executing the strategy is not to announce it to everyone at tribal council. Like you go around individually more covertly to people who are not in that majority and say tactfully like, hey, they're kind of running this game, and not only that, do like they have a really good chance of winning immunities because they're physically gifted. Um, and do it that way. You don't just talk to. Well, I assume she talked to some people. We didn't get any Chrissy before tribal, literally like
yeah.
hardly at all. And then like I assume like if you just don't talk to anybody and then you go to tribal and just like I'm just gonna air it all out right here, and then nobody's on your side. She didn't talk to anybody. Maybe she did. I don't know. We didn't get
Well,
anywhere.
the thing is that this group that she's trying to target is self-destructing, and
Mm-hmm.
she really just has to get out of her own way, and she can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it speaks to the dynamics right now because if you look at the people who are left, it is the quote unquote strong five um, of Kyle, Joe, Shaheen, Eva, and David.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mary is connected through David, Camilla is connected through Kyle, and then it seems like Star, Mitch, and Chrissy are just completely they get about 5% of the real information. They are
Mm-hmm.
completely
Completely on the
not
outs. Yeah.
not participating in the game at this
Mm-hmm.
point.
Yeah.
And I get Mitch is trying his damnedest. Siva 5, let's do it. Come on,
Yeah.
guys. Isn't it best for all of us if we
It was
just
like very awkward. The like individual shots they had on everyone else when he was pitching that, they were just
yeah.
kind of like side eyeing each other and like kind of just like shoot him away after that. I was like, yeah, 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 we'll think about it. Go back to sitting with the person who doesn't have the vote, the person we're going to vote out.
Yeah. But the ironic thing is, if you bring this to David at the end of the episode, he probably would have done it. He's like, well, I can't go
Yeah,
against the strong five. And then, but, well, here's the thing. His problem within the strong five is Kyle, who is also a Siva.
right. And we get the preview next time of, I think this is going to just blow up on David because he seems like he is really mad that Joe went back on his word, but they voted together.
Yeah. I wonder if it wasn't actually Joe that he was talking to, but he says it to
Mm,
somebody.
but nobody could have went back on their word. They all voted together.
Right. Yeah. Well,
So
David is he's an interesting person because um he's he is a hypocrite. Like
yeah,
um they have this strong five alliance, and he is essentially, I get that Kyle and Camilla are being sneaky, and that is probably like the real reason why he wants to go for them.
hmm
But the fact of the matter is they're loyal to the alliance, and Kyle has a side alliance that he doesn't want that
hmm
person to go home, which is Camilla. David not only has his own side alliance in Mary, he is altering the alliance. He says we have like the strong five, and he's like, and Mary's with us, and so we're gonna make it the strong six.
yeah,
And dude, you're like, all along you're like, oh, we have everybody we need. We don't need to work with Camilla, even if she is working with us. We don't need to
hmm
keep her. And it's like, dude, you have five of you. There's nine fucking votes. You don't need Mary either, but you're bringing her in because it's best for you.
yeah,
Like, again, you can play the game however you want, but if you're like really standing on a soapbox and trying to get people to back you,
hmm
you're you are doing the thing that you're
Well,
arguing
yeah, he's like
against.
high roading Kyle when Kyle all Kyle's trying to say is like essentially he's trying to talk around it, but like he's saying that Camilla has voted with them the past couple votes. She's never done anything that would make David feel like that she wouldn't be with him or that she was turning on them. And he's trying to kind of sidestep saying that like Mary hasn't proven herself to do
Yeah,
that
because she's sitting right
because
there.
she's
But if
sitting
she's
right there.
not, that probably gets said.
Right. It's like, yeah, you're passing up someone who has voted with us for something that, yeah, like you said, benefits your own personal gain, which is fine. But then don't be on a soapbox about like staying tight to the core five. And he was just pissing me off the way he was arguing too. He was like railroading Kyle so hard in that argument where like his argument didn't even make any sense. He's like, "You're making this so complicated." Everyone else is like, or at least Joe and Kyle are like, "No, dude, you're making it complicated. Like
Right.
we have the numbers, and you're trying to switch it onto somebody else because you're bringing someone else, like an additional person, into this alliance for no reason whatsoever."
Yeah, and again, it's like he has such tunnel vision to the fact that he's saying, okay, we want Camilla, and Kyle. Honestly, Kyle does out himself decently in this episode.
He
I
kind
think
of
he makes
has
it.
to though.
I agree, but I think he makes it relatively clear that him and Camilla are together now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and David is essentially saying, okay, well, like we're getting rid of Camilla, and Kyle doesn't want to go along with my plan, and there should be no reason why my plan it doesn't work. So why is he giving me pushback? And at the same time, he's doing the same thing to Joe, where Joe is like that Chrissy is actively pushing to get
Mm-hmm.
me out of this game. He wants me and Eva, or she wants me and Eva split up, and Eva has immunity. She said my name like for 3 days in a row now. Like, can you do me a solid and get rid of her? And Camilla's not doing anything to anybody. So if you're just saying, hey, what's the best thing for the alliance as a whole? It probably is to just fucking vote out like path of least resistance. Just vote out Chrissy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I mean, this is the second instance of him. He's arguing against something that he is doing himself.
Yeah, the big turning point. of the episode, I think, is when Joe finds out that Chrissy was throwing his name around because they were arguing back and forth whether they want to do Chrissy or Camilla before that, but Joe and Kyle didn't really have any ammo. They were kind of just like, "Hey, Camilla's been working with us. This is kind of something we want," and they were just kind of like at opposing sides where it was the same argument on both sides. They were just kind of arguing which way they wanted to go with it, basically. I would still say that Kyle and Joe had the leg up on it because you're voting out someone who is actively working against you as opposed to someone who's voted with you. So I would say that's the better plan than what David and Mary are pitching to just vote out Camilla for no reason. Well, there is a reason, but it's not. It doesn't behoove the entire alliance. The turning point is when Joe finds out that Chrissy was like saying his name, and like he brings that up, and then they can say like, look, this not doesn't indirect it directly affects the alliance. The previous plans were indirectly, affecting or not affecting the alliance. This is now directly affecting R5. And it can't be a strong five if she's gunning for me and I have like you bringing in people who I don't even know are going to vote with us. They could get flipped around on me. I don't trust Mary. So I think that was the real turning point on probably where they convinced David to do that was because they kind of probably off camera kind of like took him aside and said like, listen, like she like specifically said Joe's name, so like
Yeah.
we need to go this way. So and you too, like they probably pitched him like your name's probably gonna come out of her mouth too if it hadn't already. I don't remember, but
Right. And I think that the other interesting part of this is it's a big group discussion. It's the strong five plus Mary now, but
mm-hmm.
Shaheen isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's that, which is interesting because David's whole reason to go for Camilla, which he doesn't say out loud, but his whole reason was that, right, he doesn't say it out loud in that conversation. He said it at the reward, is that he is skeptical of Shaheen and he thinks that Shaheen is working so closely with Camilla, which is
Mm-hmm.
hilarious because he's having this back and forth with Kyle, but he won't write Kyle's name down, even though Kyle's the real guy that he should be going after
Right.
in this scenario.
He's like, I want to vote out Shaheen, so let's vote out Camilla.
Right. Shaheen really comes off just
I think
like,
he might slip through the cracks here. This might be the beginning of the winner's edit for Shaheen.
yeah, this is the this is the great part about like just joining this alliance with David, and like I get that there's rules. And it's essentially like it's what Kyle and Camilla were saying last week. It's like, yeah, you have to act in self defense, otherwise David thinks you're in the wrong, and now all of a sudden he's going to try to flip the whole group on you. So he pretty much wants Shaheen out, but
Mm-hmm.
he's like, he's in the alliance, so we got to get rid of Camilla instead.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's
So
exactly what it is.
And so yeah, he's like Shaheen's in his alliance still, but he is actively working against Shaheen.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting thing about Shaheen not being there is so Kyle and Mary, or fuck, David and Mary, they obviously want to get Camilla out. Kyle's pushing hard to keep it on Chrissy. Joe wants it to be Chrissy as well. Eva's just kind of sitting there, and I think the only thing she says the entire conversation is like, yeah, I kind of would say Camilla because of like the surprise fact. Like she won't see it coming
Mm-hmm.
essentially. And at that point, Joe shuts it down,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting because it's like a miniature version of the whole like I'd sacrifice myself for Eva deal,
Mm-hmm.
where there's a person who's saying his name that she's not obviously not going to be successful in getting rid of him, but still, Chrissy is actively saying his name, and because Eva sides with them and he's not going to go against Eva, at least in front of the group. I think he probably would have liked to hash that out separately with Eva and present a united front amongst the two of them.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think her going to that side, he just kind of like shut it down. He's like, all right, fine. Like everybody wants this. Like it's just not a fight I'm willing to have. And then Kyle's like, oh fuck, like this is like big trouble. Then he pulls Shaheen aside separately, and Shaheen really wants to work with Camilla. Kyle's already working with
Mm-hmm.
Camilla, so they both are kind of like, we don't want to do this. And then we see Kyle go back to Joe, and Joe's like, well, I mean, we could flip it. And at this point, I'm really surprised it's not David. Again, I get the whole integrity thing, but at a certain point, just fucking play the game. Like, he is, aside from actively writing your name down, or aside from writing your name down, he's actively doing everything he can to prevent what you want to have happen.
I think the reason why, I mean, you have the numbers in this instance because Star doesn't have a vote. You have the numbers to do whatever you want. If you or Joe, I'm assuming Eva then gets on the same page as Joe. They probably talked about it afterwards that we
Yeah.
didn't see, and they become united. Joe, Eva, Shaheen, Camilla, and Kyle.
Yeah.
Five is the majority
Right. They could have done whatever
because
they
Star
wanted.
doesn't have a vote, so they could have done whatever they wanted. I think the play is to get Chrissy out because she's actively gunning for you, and that makes sense to do. I think if you take David out this week, things I don't know. Maybe give I don't know what you never know what's gonna happen the following week. But now that same five has the majority next week because Star will have a vote again, but you have one less person. So you could just get David again. I think he's a fairly agreeable person, especially with how aggressive he was being.
Yeah. And the other thing too is he's pushing very hard, but Joe actually said he kind of made it sound like it's Mary's plan
Hmm.
and David is kind of doing the legwork on it.
Hmm.
And so I think that's even more of a reason to target David or at least Mary. I can't believe Mary's name didn't come up in all
Well,
this. She chose a weird time to go all in, I think.
yeah,
Cuz
and
she's
I
playing a
think
really good under the radar game and now she's just in the crosshairs.
that's what I think. I think David has to. Mary doesn't have an in with the group, so David has to stand for her. Basically, I think they
Mhm.
were probably working pretty closely together for longer than we saw on the show, and that David thought it was a good plan, but Mary didn't have the numbers, and it was a good
Mhm.
idea. So he had to like present it more as like more united
Yeah.
because she didn't really have the numbers for it. But then that gives more reason to vote out David next week because then you isolate Mary
Yeah.
as a
And
future vote, and she's a good player.
yeah, and so he's like, yes, you're acting first if you take him out, or like, does it
But it
count
doesn't
if you
matter
take
if you're
out?
acting first because then he's gone. So then
Right.
the
Yeah. And yeah, so you either get him or the person that is, putting forth this plan that you don't want to do, right? And I think them making a point of the Joe, Shaheen, Kyle and Camilla like bonding at the swap tribe.
Mhm.
I know that this is going to pay off in David getting booted because that bonding pretty much happened. Eva was a given that she'd get added to this alliance,
Mhm.
and then David just kind of like found himself in this group. I mean, he really manufactured it, but he found himself in a group of like all people who have already connected with each other
Mhm.
without him,
Yeah,
and I don't think he realizes how fragile the ground he stands on is.
yeah. I think there's a lot of parallels actually between David and Chrissy, which is interesting because they were arguing so much
Yeah,
and so aggressively at Tribal. But like ultimately, they're playing a very similar game, just different sides of
yeah,
from different perspectives, essentially.
it's a flat
Like,
circle.
yeah, there we go. Um, and that also they're both right. Like their reads are right. It's just they're not executing them right. Like Chrissy's right in that the strong people are running the game, and it probably is wise to start looking inward on that alliance. Like that's a good read. Bad read to basically call people out at tribal in the majority,
Yeah.
but and then David is right that Camilla is a threat, and they should not trust her, which is correct because
Mhm.
her and Kyle are together, but he should not be railroading Kyle in front of everyone and freaking out like that. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Boss Rob light, off brand Boss Rob because he can't
yeah.
manipulate the people the way he wants to. But
I do think that's what it comes down to a lot of the times is, it's Survivor, and people look, smarter or dumber, or, whatever. But I think it ultimately comes down to is most of the people on the show are pretty smart, and it's just the execution of getting your point across. Like you said, they're making good points. It's just like David, he he's trying to stand on this moral high ground when really he could just say logically look at the facts. Like look how hard Kyle is pushing back at this right now. Like
Hmm.
why shouldn't it be Camilla? Like I don't like I'll do why it shouldn't be Chrissy if you can
Hmm.
tell me why it shouldn't be Camilla. Other than
Right.
just you're complicating it and you're making it too like he could have easily undressed Kyle in that argument, not because Kyle's like playing poorly, but it's like it's his game on the line. It's like it's Camilla going home.
Hmm.
So or not literally, but it's Camilla's game that's on the
Right.
line.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's like Kyle doesn't have any choice but to support a losing argument. And David just goes about it so poorly that Kyle's able to essentially put all of his cards on the table and then cover his cards again and
Hmm.
then still just keep playing the hand and nobody's the wiser somehow.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see where Shaheen goes from here
Yeah,
because I can't
he's in
quite
limbo.
read the edit on if this is, like I said, his fade back into the background while he keeps like trying to pull the strings and make moves without being a target because he was really on the radar last week and a
Mm-hmm.
little bit on the radar this week still too. Um,
I think
and
it's
I
a
can't.
good thing for him that he got voted for by Chrissy
Yes.
because he's keeping his whatever you want to call it. He's still on alert, high
Yeah.
on high alert.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can't tell if he's fading back into the background because it's this sort of an upswing or it's because he's losing equity.
Yeah, I do have this fear about him that he's like it's Joe and Eva, it's Kyle and Camilla, it's David and Mary. Like he's kind of everybody's third wheel, and
Yeah.
at a certain point, and the worst part is like they all are kind of skeptical of him too. Like
Hmm.
his best move probably is to stick with Joe and Eva no matter what they do. Joe is like the number one guy that's vouching for him at this point.
Hmm.
And I also think that Joe himself is maybe like the safest guy. Like just to
Yeah.
spoil a little bit, like I put Joe number one in my rankings this week because
Hmm.
I'm getting the feeling of when there's multiple threats at this point in the post merge and they're all kind of working together and targeting each other kind of all at the same time. There's always like one or two people that you're like, how the hell is this guy not even getting looked at? And that's him. That's
Hmm.
him this season. It's just like Kyle appreciates that he shoots it to him straight. And like Joe is a good player, but Shauhin is also a good player who doesn't necessarily reciprocate the way that Kyle would prefer it. So like he prefers Joe to Shauhin. He if they want to break up Joe and Eva, he prefers Joe to Eva. And
Hmm.
then if you I mean, Camilla would probably side with Kyle there as well. We haven't really gotten her take on Joe versus Eva. Shauhin is closer with Joe than he is with Eva. I think David, him and Joe are kind of. I mean, David is like the ethical pillar of this alliance, but
Hmm.
it really was Joe's reciprocating of that opinion, which is what allowed David to like really get the ball rolling and be like, okay, well, if we want to do this loyalty thing, how about everybody that we're aligned with? Let's just get together and like that's an alliance. And so I just think Joe is at the center of so much, and I think his gameplay in tonight's episode, it shows really how easy this game is for him right now, where
Hmm.
Chrissy's coming after him, and so he has the ability to say a name, which is a thing like you don't really want to do all the time. But he's able to say a name because she's saying his name first. And it's not that bad because she has zero agency whatsoever. Then at the same time, he's able to just sit there in the middle of that conversation and be like, "Yeah, I want to get Chrissy out," and then say, "You know what? All you guys you're doing all of the work to push a target. I don't even have to put myself out there like that. I could just go with you guys, or I could just go with Kyle over here. It doesn't really matter." And it's the game is easy for him right now. I know I sound like Chrissy, and he's gonna say, yeah, I can't tell him how he feels, but truly, the game is easy for him at this point.
Yeah, I we've got to see in the past couple weeks his strategic chops, and they're he looks really good. Like he is pretty formidable. I worry that he looks this good this early, that I can't necessarily trust that anymore. Um, Shaheen, I had a point to make about him, and I don't quite remember what it was. Oh, it was um, I thought starting out this episode that it looked good for him. We still get a lot of point of view from him. I feel like what's happening, how he's seeing the game, and we
Mhm.
got a confessional from him in the opening sequence the before the theme played, and I felt good about it. I was like, because coming into the episode, I thought, I don't know where he stands. He could have went home. I don't know where he stands with his alliance, and then we get that opening sequence. And I'm like, okay, we're still getting perspective from him in a good way. He wasn't saying anything that made me think he was going to go home tonight. Because sometimes you get an early confessional where you're like, oh, that better watch out for that person. Um, and I felt good. And then we don't get much of him. He looks bad in this challenge. And then like the main point I wanted to make was like I picked up on like cinematography changes potentially like
Oh
surrounding him,
boy.
which is like a lot of times you're we've been seeing him in like good lighting or like him like looking relaxed like in his confessionals or from like a lower angle, but like this episode I felt like we got a lot of like looking down on him and in worse lighting, which is a weird thing to pick up on. I was like, why does Shaheen like not look good in this episode?
Yeah.
I was like thinking about it. I was like, these shots are like not what I'm used to, how I'm used to seeing him. I was thinking about it. I was like, maybe it does have something to do with the edit, and they wanted to shoot him that way in this episode because for whatever reason, but maybe his edit is changing. I don't know. That's just something interesting that I don't know if it actually happened or if I made it up, but
Yeah.
something that I noticed nonetheless.
I do think that's very interesting. I mean, that opening confessional, it was shot in the dark, and he's kind of rubbing his face, and there's a little anxiety driven because
Mm-hmm.
things got a little shaky for him. Um, I do think I fear for his position in the game just because, like I said, he's everybody's third wheel, and half the people in his own alliance are really targeting him. Um, I think he's probably the player that would benefit the most from this group imploding
Yeah,
because I
he can
think
pick
he
a
really
side.
needs to connect with some of the people outside of that alliance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I just because the position he's in right now is that there's no better move than moving forward with that group, but he's too fringe on the group. Like how I just said, Joe is at the center of everything, and he's
Mm-hmm.
probably, if this alliance worked its way down to 5 or 6, he probably gets to the end just because there's always someone else to vote out other than Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Shauheen is probably the most agreeable person to vote out at that point, and we've already
Right.
seen seeds planted for people coming after him,
Mm-hmm.
and like I don't I don't know if he realizes how dire the situation is for him right now, like how hard like David and Mary and like last week he was targeted pretty hard by Kyle and Camille. Like I don't think he realizes that, and but I also wonder if he did know that, is it even better for him? Because then he might try to start making some moves. But I don't really think it makes sense to like grab Mitch and Star and be like, come on, like
Yeah,
let's do
because
this because he's probably gonna try to make a move with Camilla if he does, and that's gonna backfire on him. And so like I don't know how he improves, and he has like a ceiling right now, and I just don't see a way around it. But I agree that I he is this like one of the main point of view characters of the season.
yeah, and um, yeah, it gets to the point where everybody's in these duos, right? And if someone wants to take a swing, a blind side, if you will, if they want to stop voting out people who are just agreeable boots, he is an agreeable blindside because when you get to blindsides in an alliance of five, when there's nine people left, everyone kind of pairs off and goes, well, as long as it's not me or my number one,
Hmm.
that's okay. Like I'm willing to let go of Shaheen, even though like he's part of our numbers to make a move type of thing, and everyone can get behind that. So it's him being in that position makes me nervous.
Yeah, I just again, I mean, it's what we talked about last week when we were talking about his edit versus our opinion.
Mm,
Like, I still believe in it, and if I was just getting the raw footage from everybody, I'd be like, yeah, this guy is still a top tier person. But just since it's an edited show and they're trying to tell a story, it just kind of makes me wonder.
yeah, and I think his problem is everyone thinks he's untrustworthy when he really isn't. Like
Yeah,
so him
going through that bag of Kyle's, that's really like put a dent in his reputation, I guess you would say.
right, but like so then if he tries to go out and make a move because he learns that everyone has like tangentially targeted him, then it cements their opinion of him.
Right. Self fulfilling prophecy.
Right, yeah. But I think if he tries to make a move with Camilla and Kyle, I don't think they would. I don't know. I don't necessarily know if they would try to flip it on him because he's playing too hard or trying to make a move with them, or if they would work with him. I don't know how that would turn.
I I would bet that he well, I think it depends on who he does it with. I think if he tries to make a move with like Joe and Eva,
Hmm.
that I think they would do it with him, but then it would be like the sus is on, like, oh, like he made the move too soon, like maybe he's the next one to go.
Yeah,
If it's Kyle and Camilla, I think they try to parlay it into getting rid of him that night,
yeah.
probably, if I had to guess.
That is kind of Camilla's style. It feels like.
Yeah, it is. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a smaller group, so we could focus a little more on the rankings. So, like Kyle, we've kind of talked down a lot. He's actually tied with Joe. Um, my opinion on him hasn't changed a ton. Shaheen's three, Eva at four. Um, I don't know. I really think her cap is
She's
like
kind of
second
here
place.
out of necessity.
Right. There's yeah. It's just like everyone below her is in such a way worse position.
Hmm.
Um, But it is interesting this duo with Joe. I think Joe is so safe, and I think that people just don't want to ruffle Joe's feathers. And what would really chap Joe's ass is somebody trying to vote out Eva.
And she was on the hot seat for a while. And we haven't heard her name in a
Yeah,
minute.
it's kind of come and gone.
Yeah, and I think she could be like a rattle off an immunity streak
Hmm.
type of person.
Yeah,
So
body weight challenges. She would probably be my pick.
yeah, for sure. I like this challenge. It's a classic.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like women just by and large have the advantage in this. I don't necessarily know why that is, but I feel like they always win it.
I think it's just because guys have just biologically like a higher proportion of their weight is like above their waist, and
Center of
this is
gravity thing.
yeah, and well, and it's like a leg strength and like your feet and stuff like it's like you got to be strong in the lower half
Hmm.
compared to your upper half, and that's like David is carrying a lot of weight above his waist. So
Skips
is
leg day.
Joe. Yeah, yeah. Where like if you can do that thing where you're kind of like put your legs out and you're kind of like doing like a scissor, you
Hmm.
have less weight to hold.
Right.
So
Yeah, I noticed that like the guys they don't really like wrap their ankles around like or
hmm,
I don't know if it's because they can't or they can't sustain that for a long time, but
because
it
they're
seems
dumb guys.
I know I can't figure it. Just hold on to the pole. You not just your arms, buddy. You got four appendages.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, Eva, I still think her cap is like second place. She just
Yeah,
doesn't do enough strategically. I don't know if she just doesn't have she's not shown or she just doesn't have an opinion on any of this stuff, but she seems very old school to me of like, hey, we're in an alliance and like just whatever name we settle on at the end is probably going to be fine with me.
yeah. It her ceiling yeah feels like second place with Joe as the winner. I bet she gets like three votes. But Chrissy votes for her because she would never vote for Joe. Um,
Although if Joe wins, she's vindicated, so
ish. I suppose. Yeah. Um, Star probably votes for her because they have a bond,
Hmm. That
and
Eva only has with her.
yeah, and maybe a straggler somewhere, Cedric, because he never votes right, or always votes right. He votes everybody out.
Yeah. Um, we did have Camilla at 5. This is the one we disagreed on the most. I had her at 3. You had her at 7. I think that my logic on Camilla is like this was the best chance for them to get her, and I
Hmm.
think that now I'm not going to be like, hey, this is the only chance. Like Camilla,
Hmm.
she says this is the only chance to get a Logi. I'm like, well, there's 3 of them, and there's 10 people left, so
Hmm.
I don't know if that checks out, but. Actually, your original tribe. This is the last
Yeah,
chance to get one of them
yeah, yeah.
if they were working together. Um, I just feel like this. It feels like it's going to transition now to David against Kyle,
Hmm.
and Kyle's going to win that battle. And like at the end of it, Kyle's going to be the one that it looks like has done a lot more, even though it's they can claim the same moves. And this is kind of why I've been saying Kyle above her for a while is they claim the same moves, but he commands more. I think he's just a bigger jury threat at this point because he's more out in
Hmm.
front. But when you're this far away, that's probably a negative.
Well, I'm wondering if the battle of David versus whoever else he wants to go up against, Ca-
Goliath.
Goliath, uh, Camilla actually fronts that because it's her name he's throwing out.
Okay.
If you could get behind me with that, that like David was pitching her, Kyle obviously told her that. So then the battle is actually between David and Camilla because they're both yappers, and Kyle is almost caught on the middle more so like uh does he stick with the 5 or Camilla? He obviously wants to stick with Camilla, but he pitches that to David that like I'm 5 strong and can kind of swing it his way. And Camilla really looks like who pulled it off, and then I think she, especially right now, looks really not safe. And then if she pulls off a David vote out, then she is I think really not safe.
Hmm.
Would
I
be
do
my
think the
take on
best
it.
thing for her would probably be if Kyle goes after Mary and is like, why the fuck is she in the alliance? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why does David get to add somebody, but, we can't protect somebody else who's working with, like, she's been working with us, and us, he's saying it to Joe and Shaheen, like, and just because she's not working with David doesn't mean she's not working with the rest of us, because David's working with Mary. No, but the
Mm-hmm.
rest of us are working with Mary. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think if he pounds that drum hard, and then at final 8, it really comes to a head of Kyle versus David, then
Mm-hmm.
okay, that means that you get down to 7 with Mitch is still around, Star is still. It's pretty much like, ooh, then you get into Star, Eva, Joe Shaheen territory. That's a little dangerous too, actually. I just realized.
Yeah,
So maybe that's not the best thing for
because
her.
Logie is tight.
Yeah.
I don't know which way they go. I think that you would have had a better case against David to take him out if they didn't vote together tonight. Because
Yeah.
then you could make the case that, oh, David's actually with Mary, but he's just using the 5 for votes to accomplish what he wants. But since he
Hmm.
did do what they wanted, I don't think that they can really play that. I think David is a good player. I just think he was very, like, for some reason this episode he was just very strong arming everybody into Camilla, which is like that's the thing is like it was frustrating to watch because I'm like you sound like you're wrong. Like the way he was arguing made me think he was wrong, but then like what he wanted to do is like probably best for his game.
Right.
So
He
like
just doesn't know how to pitch it.
yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah. I do think this also, if Camille and Kyle lose the game, I do think, I do think it's happening right now where like they are on one side of this alliance and you need to be targeting the other side of the alliance with the people in the middle of the alliance, and then right at the end you cut the people that you pulled in, and Shaheen is that middle person. And I think if you target those middle people because you're like, hey, people on the other side, look, these are people that we can both agree on, right? Like let's act Shaheen because he's sneaky apparently, and like then you just run into a scenario where it's just you versus Joe and Eva mano a mano,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a star and you do not have a star,
Mm-hmm.
and they probably have Shaheen if he's not gone yet at that point, and like I agree that this David thing is really a pain in the ass because he actively wants Camilla out, but they're just going to be between a rock and a hard place pretty soon where like Joe or Eva are really like the two people that need to go. Fuck, Chrissy is right, man.
Mm-hmm.
Joe and Eva are really the people that need to go.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to be going after David and Mary. And then I think after that, they'll probably get one of those two, and then they'll get Shaheen, and then, oh, Mitch, challenge threat at Final 7 or whatever. Like, we got to get rid of him. And you're cutting your own legs out from under you. And I think if they do lose the game, that's going to be why.
Yeah, I think Kyle, moving forward from here, I think since he got through this vote with Camilla, and if things blow up with her, I think he can still win the game even if Camilla goes next, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think the bond he has that we've seen with Joe that can really carry him through to the end game.
I do agree with that. I think that's his one thing is, yeah, if you are on like opposing sides of the alliance, the one thing that you can do if you want to take out those people in the middle is kind of turn the entire thing and to where you say, okay, you actually go after the people in the middle. I'm going to sneak in the back and I'm going to be your closer ally. And now we're going to work together to target that person over on the other side, which is Shaheen. And so I think if
Mm-hmm.
he can work himself in and be like, hey, Joe, it's not you, Eva, and then Shaheen and Star. It's you and Eva and me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably the best way to go about it.
If this was season like 25, I'm like 95% sure Joe wins.
I kind of I might be changing my tune. I kind of think just talking this out. I think he's like the most guaranteed person to be at like final 6 for me.
Yeah,
That
I'm
makes
kind of
sense.
questioning at this point how he goes. There's
Right,
so
that's
many
what I mean.
layers. Like who? Like you got to convince so many people that are in his corner to vote for him. Like I
Yeah.
don't know who's doing that. How's he pulling that?
He's not. Um but yeah, so we had Mary at 6. I just don't get it from her. I mean, I do and I don't because at a certain like she's so on the outs that like she needs to hitch her wagon to someone in the majority
Hmm.
and start to make inroads. The problem is I think how aggressively they went after Camilla. Like I think if you're her, you want to just like okay, I've been voting with the alliance, right? Every vote's been unanimous essentially other than the say charity split. But pretty much everything's been unanimous. So like I can make this claim that yeah, I voted with the group on everything pretty much. I think you need like an easy vote to where you could be like, hey, Mary, you're official. It's officially the strong 6, and Mary, you're in it. And it's like okay, let's just get through an easy vote. So it's like, hey, the strong 6. That's a pretty solid alliance. It's been working the strong 6, right? Versus this way, it's like, hey, it's the strong 5. We're gonna bring in Mary, and Mary in your first 5 minutes in the alliance. Who do you want to target, and why is it Kyle's closest ally?
Yeah,
And it's just like I think she could have done a little bit with, you know, done with a little bit more establishment. I believe.
I think I don't even know. Like I was gonna say, is she worried about? I don't even know what I was gonna. I think she should be more worried about the oranges, the Siva like
Yeah,
numbers. But then again, she's the only one left from her tribe, so she should be worried about everybody else. And that's kind of in the position she is in, is where she
yeah.
is just worried about everybody else. And that's the problem, is because she's good and she makes the right read. Camilla is a person to get out again, but it's just how you go about doing it.
Yeah, she is of the people who are like really struggling right now. She is the only one that's doing anything positive. It's like
Right.
she knows she's got to work her way in, and she's trying at least. It's just she might have pushed all in on a losing hand in David.
Hmm. Isn't it
Um,
so nice that we get an episode that Say isn't in?
I know.
It
It
just
was
felt
like
so much lighter.
I honestly, I'm not even. Well, I mean, I know what you're going to say to this. I'm not even trying to shade, even though
I
you
am.
actively are. But I do think this might have been the best episode of the season.
Hmm. Coincidence? Yes, but I
Yeah.
think not.
Well, yeah, it's just like everyone last week. I mean, what the fuck? They had a split tribal council, and this group that came together at the merge is like didn't fracture just then. And everyone's like, "Oh, this season's going to be so boring." They fucking disintegrate the next episode. Like just fucking relax.
I don't understand why I bitch about this every season. Why can they not just let everyone vote? What
Yeah.
is, like
Oh,
we
I was going to ask about the journey.
go ahead.
I okay. I actually didn't mind this one
Hmm.
just because there was like an actual skill based game to determine who got the vote and who didn't, and solely because there's 10 people left, and if one person loses their vote, it's still 9, which is still like a really good number to vote at. So this one I didn't mind as much, but I am still against it in the
In
because I'm
principle,
trying to push the grander narrative
yeah.
that it's a bad thing, because it is a bad thing.
That's well that like it's not so much that it affected this vote. It's just that like week in, week out, like they just can't let everyone on the island vote at the same time. Like you do the merge, you fake merge, then you split, you have two people go home, and then this week you say, okay, we're finally at the real merge, real post merge, and then oh, actually no, one person also can't vote because you went on a journey and lost your vote that you were forced to do.
Right.
So I don't know. I like it much more when they can choose, but I understand that's not how it's set up. I did like the challenge though, pro challenge. That was pretty cool. I don't know how much. Shawheat looked like he was doing like Calc 3 out there, and like, buddy, like if you're working solo or if you're working with one other person, you only got to think. Well, you can't think ahead. Like, it's
Right.
just it's literally just what you and the person you're aligning with are going to do. Like, there's no math. I don't understand what he was doing.
Yeah. I don't either.
It's like the person you're aligned. If the person you're aligned with is first in the order of
Mhm.
the person you're trying to get out, when they go, they need to look at the balls and they say, okay, there's me, and then there's this other person. Maximum of like 3 people. Either I'm trying to get the next person out, or I'm trying to get the person in front of them out. Like
Right.
there's, and then I just look at
You
the
pretty
balls
much
and see
just
what we need to
play
do.
until either Mitch or Star are in trouble, and then you just pile on.
Right. And like if you have two, I'm pretty sure if you have 2 people, like in a set of 3 out of the 4. So you
Hmm.
have it's you and one other person, and you're trying to get a third person out, and you guys statistically have to be in a row in some way
Yeah.
because there's only 4 people. You can like if you're working with someone in good faith and everyone's gonna do the logical thing, you can I'm pretty sure make it certain that that person goes.
Yeah. Probably.
Unless they do some weird shit like put like 3 red balls in a row or something weird.
Right. Because if you're Shaheen, to use names so it's not as confusing,
Yeah, yeah.
and
I'm always thinking theoretically.
yeah, uh, so yeah, it's pretty much Shaheen's job is to not give Mitch a choice, so
Yeah.
that like leave enough space to where nothing that Mitch does is really of any consequence,
Mm-hmm.
so that it moves the line along, so that Camilla is the one making the choice about, you know, to to fuck Star over pretty much,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
you really just attack the person. You really attack Star in that scenario,
Mm-hmm.
and any kind of like spillover where it's like, oh, like there's 2 red balls close to each other, and she can kind of work out of that. Like maybe Shauhin eats one like he did,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's pretty
Everyone played
easy.
it just logically, and then Star was just like, "Well, there's nothing I can do." I'm like, "That's exactly how it's supposed to go." I don't understand why
Right,
everyone was just like Shaween was in the beginning. He was like, it was the Zach Galifianakis numbers and things
right.
flying. Everyone was like, "I don't understand." There were like 10 white balls, and he was like, "Okay, so if like I take 2, and then the next person takes 1, but then the third person takes 2, like
Yeah,
buddy, like you just gotta wait until the red balls get close. There's nothing you can do about it."
yeah. It is like a the one thing I will defend him on there though is like it is a thing that if you just think about it for a little bit, you can dominate it pretty easily.
Mm,
So it's like you just got to make sure you're actually like give it the effort there.
yeah, but I think it's a good challenge because I don't think it's like enough thinking on the fly that I enjoy it. The other
I would
big
like to do that elimination style with the whole group
right,
as
rather
an
than just
immunity
one
challenge.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
Keep
I'm
going
gonna
until there's like only one person without three balls.
yeah. I didn't realize from the beginning that only one person was gonna lose their vote. I thought they were gonna keep going after Star went.
Yeah, I did too. I thought it was going to get down to 7 people voting.
Yeah, I would have been pissed about that. But um, to continue, I'm not bitching about challenges, but uh, where they build the staircase, right, in the immunity challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Oh, I think
I
I might
don't,
know what you're going to say.
I cannot fathom how you can walk up to the stair, look at it, go back to pick up the puzzle, and get it wrong. How does that happen? There's it's like I said to Alyssa when we were watching it, I was like, this is literally like the putting the blocks in the bucket. Like the circle goes in the circles. It's like what? It's just like a 10-year-old version of that, like for babies. Like you just understand. Like it's literally like five circles, and they come in three sizes: large, medium, or small. And you just gotta remember
Yeah,
the
I would
order. I
have
don't
to look at
understand.
them closer, but I believe that the issue that people have is they say, okay, there's a big one, a medium one, a small one, and then a medium one. But I think there's 5 spaces for them. And
Hmm.
so people, you just have to say that there's a blank as well. You got to say like big, medium, blank, small, medium, not big, medium, small, medium.
I think so. To get through this quickly, I was kind of developing a strategy in my head as they went. Like the challenge to do it quickly is the boards can go either way, so they can be flipped. So
Hmm.
you immediately just you just look at the middle circle, and you
Yeah,
immediately eliminate any boards that don't have the correct middle circle.
right. But that's what I mean is the middle's blank on some of them. But
Oh,
that's technically a circle
that's
size as
technically
well.
a circle,
It's
right? No,
yeah,
no circle is a circle size as
yeah.
well.
It is a
So
condition.
I
This is a
think
big nerdy episode for
I
us
know.
here.
I think I'm pretty sure that you don't need center left and center right at all. Because you can just look at the center one, and then you got to look at the outside ones to know which way to flip the remaining ones. The only time you would need to go to your third case there being middle left and middle right would be if there are two boards that have the same on the outside.
Yeah. I do think the best way to do it is to simplify where you pretty much say, okay, I get up there, there's a big one on the left and a small one on the right. And you
Mm-hmm.
go and you look at there's what, like 12 or 15 planks. There's
Mm-hmm.
probably gonna be like 3 or 4 that are big on one side and small on the other side. And
Mm-hmm.
then if you know the middle, you probably are cutting it down to like 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, guess and check is probably fine. Like if I don't think you're gonna need to go perfect to advance. You can probably get like 4 or 5 or 6 wrong and still be fine as long as you're
Yeah.
going quickly.
All I'm saying, like, you, you have to remember five circle sizes. I don't understand. I'm not understanding the difficulty here. That like you could multiple times not get it right running up there. I don't get it.
Stephen
Maybe I have to be
Fishback
wrong.
would agree with you. I think that's for all these big, strong guys. I think the greatest challenge performance of all time is I don't know what episode of Tokenshiens, but they had it was like an obstacle course, and then you got to the end, and so they had to do like an equation, and
Mm-hmm.
at the end there was this like spinning rod, and there was like 10 symbols on it, so they'd appear and disappear as it spun,
Mm-hmm.
and you had to run down there and be like, okay, it's a plus, then a divide, then a minus, and it's like so you'd think of like 3 of them or whatever, um, and then you'd run back, and then
Mm-hmm.
you'd put them on your sheet, and then you'd run out and go get more. And Steven ran out there, stared at it for like 5 minutes straight while everyone else like went back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
came back, did all 10 symbols at once, got it right, and then he was like, Jeff was dumbfounded. That's a great challenge.
Well, that's like that the challenge in fuck, what is it? What's Tony's first season?
Kageyan.
Kagayan. The challenging Kagayan, are they going to count the chickens and count the things? They're
Yeah.
running back and forth. It's the same concept, right? Like, I don't understand why, like, they did all the running. Like, you just got to stand there until you know for sure. Like, why are you guessing? Because people are going to miss it if they're running.
Right.
I understand it's difficult, but,
And
like,
that's why Spencer wins the challenge.
exactly. That's why Spencer wins the challenge. But, yeah, I'm not good at, like, I wouldn't be good necessarily at the physical challenges. I'd probably be pretty average at that. I'm god awful at jigsaw puzzles. I think I've said that before.
Hmm.
Just something about specifically jigsaw puzzles I'm no good at. Anything else that's spatial related, give me that all day. I get paid to do spatial coordination for real. So, like, give me. Maybe that's why I think the circles is so easy. I'm like, just fucking remember the circles because that's what I get paid to do that. So, I get paid to remember the circles. So, maybe that's why I think it's easy. But I eat up spatial coordination challenges.
Yeah. Um, just to revisit the rankings real quick, just to tie it up. We did have David at 8. I think we talked him to death pretty much in this one.
Hmm.
Star at 7, Mitch at 9. I think it's pretty much just open shut that like yeah, they don't really have any agency. Star
Star's
is
great. Continues the comic
Star is
relief.
the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want Star in the finale. Mitch he Mitch is getting on my nerves slightly just because it's like I get that he's so fucked and like all he can talk about is how fucked he is, but I'm like, dude, shut up. Like there's other stuff going on. But for him there's not. There's like
That's it. Yeah.
this is it. It's just like him in a bad spot. So
Yeah. Right.
I do
He's
still
like,
feel for
come
him.
on, guys, if we can all just pull together on one vote. And everyone's like, yeah, I know Mitch is trying to do something, but like,
Yeah.
good for him for trying, I guess.
He's like, he is right. Me and my real alliance just have to pull together for one vote and then we've
So,
got this.
great point, Mitch. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to take that in under advisement and I'll see you later. Um, I did want to talk real quick before we get into our last segment, which I won't prematurely say the name of it
Hmm.
again. We believe we do have a Survivor 50 voting
We do.
this week. Do you have it up by chance?
Oh, I can pull it up quickly.
Yeah. I
50
believe we are voting on the immunity necklace design, the what people get at their starting tribe for like pots and machete and shit like that. And the other one I saw was a. All right, we'll just get into it now. So,
Yes.
okay.
So you get, it looks like a phoenix on the immunity necklace either way. Do you want it to be on an emblem or do you want the necklace to be the phoenix? This one's pretty cut and dry for me. I chose B because the phoenix as the actual necklace to me is way sicker than having an emblem of the phoenix.
Yeah, I like that too. I liked the bad immunity from a couple seasons ago.
Oh yeah,
Or
yeah.
that was last season, I think,
Last
actually.
season, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I would agree. I'd go option B. But
Uh,
I don't think you can go wrong here. I don't
no,
think
no, I think they're both
that
pretty
much.
cool. I really like the like I guess they're feathers on the A. I think that
Hmm.
on necklace A. I think it looks really good. Tribe supplies. Do we want to give them their supplies or make them earn their camp supplies?
Yeah, I this is one that Jeff makes a big deal out of like this is like a thing that we're really trying in the new era is like they're trying to get creative with stuff like this.
Hmm.
And if you're not going to show like camp life, I mean, you see him at camp, but it's all strategy and stuff. Like if you're not going to show really how that's impacting them, then I do not care.
Right.
I at that point if it's if the edit is going to be 100% strategy and there's no like oh fuck we don't have this thing,
Hmm.
um then I would just say give them all the stuff.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I picked give them their camp supplies. I found it interesting the way they worded this, where it
Is
says,
it propaganda?
yeah, but in the opposite way that it usually is. I want because Jeff wants them to earn their supplies. That's
Yeah.
obviously because that's what they choose to do. So, but the way the question reads is, I want the tribes to earn their camp supplies. It creates an instant disparity between the tribes, giving one an early advantage while testing the other's resilience, morale, and ability to adapt. To me, that reads like it creates an instant disparity. That's a bad thing, right?
Right.
So that read a little like opposite of maybe how they wanted it to read. It came back around with the testing their morale ability and ability to adapt, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing too
I
is
don't particularly care.
you can give them camp supplies without giving them like fishing gear. Like
Yeah.
if you have a pot and flint and a machete,
Hmm.
like great, you can't go like catch a fucking fish.
Yeah.
So it's not like you've just given them some big advantage. It's just like okay, they can cook the rice, they can cook the coconut, like because they have the flint.
I think this does compound the issue of if one tribe is bad, they just get worse. Like I feel like
Yeah.
if you give them their flint or you give them whatever, like they have a better ability to bounce back and potentially win a challenge to get them out of that rut.
Hmm.
So I chose give them their camp supplies. I don't really care either way. Like you said, we don't really get camp life anymore, so I don't care what they do.
Yeah, me as well.
Twists.
This one, so I've heard a little bit. I've heard the concept of this question. I
Hmm.
might have you read it word for word.
Sure. Uh, Another decision surrounding gameplay. The right twist at the right moment can change the game for players in exciting ways, but some fans prefer a more straightforward game where strategic alliances are all that matter. Which are you? Keep the game straightforward. I don't like twists. They get in the way of a clean game. I want a season where players can lean on strategy and social skills, not sudden surprises that blow up their plans. So let's go old school. Twists should be very rare. Or keep the game shifting. I love twists. They add excitement and uncertainty, keeping the players on their toes, and forcing them to adapt and rethink their strategy. Bring on the twists.
Yeah, I feel like that's another one that they worded poorly for what they actually want.
Right. I
I just,
we think that because we disagree with them.
right, right. No, I mean I don't think that they worded it well in order to like get people to their side. Like when they say you know, it's like, "Oh, I don't want sudden things that uproot people's plans." Like, "Oh, I'm so
Right.
boring." Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think that there's a problem with there being like a more long form narrative of the season. Like if there's so many great relationships in early Survivor that it's like, hey, like these two people they meet on day one, or like they're on the
Hmm.
same tribe and they're either a duo or they're against each other, and like that relationship evolving and eventually coming to a head with one of them getting voted out or them going head to head at the end of the game, like that's a payoff.
Hmm.
Like if you like in this season right now, Kyle and Camilla have been in lockstep the entire way. It is very compelling when you like get down to four to say, okay, if one of them wins immunity, does the other vote them out? If they don't vote them out, they go to final tribal council, and it's like they've made all these moves together, and it's like the big payoff of like the debate in final tribal council, and then you reading the votes to say who wins. Like you're on pins and needles because it's gonna come down to like their debate skills, and it would probably be really close.
Hmm.
Like I don't understand why. Like why would it be better if they go through that entire thing, and then at final six you insert something random into the game, and one of them goes home like 50% of the reason why they go home is because of that, and then the other one gives a confessional. It's like, oh, it sucks my best friend went home, I'm gonna win it for them. It's like, who fucking cares, dude? Like
Right.
that's, you wasted so much potential there, and now it's just like an even more random group of people together at the end.
Yeah. I think that adding twists is honestly lazy production because it allows them to just like not have to write a consistent narrative. Like they can just kind of mishmash whatever they want episode to episode and not have like storylines that they present the viewer with that are overarching throughout the whole season. They can break it up into mini storylines which are easier to write. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously or edit, like they're not making it up, but
Well, yeah, that's a great point because I saw Jeff give an interview about, and he mentioned in there like the idea of the winner edit, and he's like, "There's no such thing really as like a winner's edit." He's like, there's a mystery of who wins, and there's some stuff we leave out because that would give it away too much, but there's some stuff that's interesting nuggets that we give out, and I mean, in general, I agree with that. But to your point, if they're saying, okay, we want it to be a mystery, they just throw a bunch of twists in there, and then with the person that wins, you just say, oh, at this point, it was kind of precarious for them. So this week we'll be like, oh, they're in the shit right now. Like, are they going to survive?
Hmm.
Versus the idea of they go point A to point B and it's linear, and all of their decisions are what either raise or lower their stock and put them in danger. And I think it's just like I think it's more fun to look at someone's game at the end when it's more like you have a better idea of what they did. Like there was always a big discussion in old school Survivor of or like middle school, I guess, Survivor of like luck being in the game because Russell Hantz when he was in I can't remember if it was Samoa or Heroes versus Villains, but at Final Tribal Council, someone at it's Heroes versus Villains. I forget who asks the question. Maybe Rupert, but someone asks him like what factor luck played in his game, and he's like zero, and they're like, oh Colby, I think it was, and Russell's like zero, and he's like, really, you don't think you got lucky at all? And he was like, no, I mean every I made moves the entire way to get me here. And he's like, sure, but there's levels of uncertainty with like there's randomness and like winning rewards and challenges and like you not being able to win a challenge, it doesn't end it for you. Like it matters who goes on to win that challenge. And there's all these like there's small things that add up to like if things are going in your favor or not. And to say that there's a 0% like luck factor
Hmm.
is just wrong.
Well, that's like saying that's the same thing as saying like if you played that season 100 times, he'd win every time, which
Right.
just is not the truth.
Yeah. It is actually which has been put to the test.
Yeah.
um but yeah, I just think that I think the fact that it was a debate before was fun where it's like sure there's luck, like you have to admit there is some luck in getting you to the end, but if you were strong enough you could stand up there and be like, no, I got myself here, and that's just a fact. And like in most cases you'd probably agree with the person who ends up winning the game if they're like, yeah, I made this move, this move, this move, like I got myself here without luck. You'd probably be like, yeah, pretty much, right?
Hmm.
But now it's like you have to actively be lucky to survive like the pre-merge almost. Like
Yeah.
if your tribe is not really dominant in the challenges, there's a really good shot that you just get fucked over completely by
Yeah.
something.
And that's like I'd like to know what they mean here by twists. They don't really define it. Um, because like we're saying, I mean, I think a lot of times you can get into the territory of like the best player doesn't win the game when you add all these twists in there, and like that's not a good story. Like at least I don't think it is. Like I think, the best player should win, you know? Like
Hmm.
it's not like fiction where like you're just like, oh, that person like doesn't exist anymore and this person's on top. No, like they're playing for like they're real people playing for real money, and in that sense, like the person who played the best game should win the money. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't like you can make it as much like to pride yourself on it being a social, strategic, outplay, outwit, outlast game, to like hang your hat on something that's so luck based and still claim that you're that, I just don't think is in good faith.
Yeah, and I think the fact that you're saying, the best player should win the game, that's not even us saying a certain strategy is the best or the worst. Like at the end of the day, it's of the three people who make it to the end, who is able to like convince the jury that they deserve to win. But it's getting into those seats and it's when getting into the seats and getting rid of the people who are making the decision is dependent on twists.
Hmm.
That's the issue.
Right. And that's
Yeah.
why we always say about like we like twists and we like advantages that don't affect don't directly affect the outcome really. Like that don't take away your vote or that don't like prevent the players from being strategic. You want to encourage more strategy, not prevent it. I think like they make the argument that like if we take away an aspect of the player's game, like that encourages more strategy. I would argue it's actually the opposite.
Right. Because the players these days are so creative that if they have everything at their disposal, like you're going to get interesting rounds of voting.
Yeah,
I
they needed
don't
this in like
yeah.
the first 10 seasons where no
Right.
one was playing strategic at all.
Yeah, I think that I think in their head they think that, hey, we had a certain show. It was great because of the social experiment aspect of it. Then it got a little stale. We had All Stars. It's like, hey, here's your favorite characters. Then after that, it got a little stale again. And then, hey, in Guatemala, let's bring out the hidden immunity idol. Okay. And they start, then they start inserting the idols more, and then there's, they bring in these other kinds of advantages, and I think they think that as like twists have evolved with the game, that like do they think the show is still on the air because it's interesting, because the because they've made the right decisions with those twists? Like the show is on the air because you've slashed your budget by going in one location at all times with the exact same challenges and uh
Season.
a shorter season. Like
Yeah.
that's the reason why the show's still on the air. And I think, do they think that if they take away all those idols and advantages, that the gameplay will revert to the product of season 9, 10, like, and like, I mean, Palau was like a steamrolling, right? It's like, do they think that it's just going to be like pagonging after pagonging every season? Like,
Right.
I don't think so. I think idols and advantages were their existence as a concept were inserted at the right time. Um, but at this point, like, just take the rounds of voting where no idols or advantages are played, and look at how no one is willing to sit still. Like
Mhm.
half the group is like, here's the plan, but this isn't like exactly what I want to do. And sure, every once in a while you get Chrissy goes home fucking 8-1 or whatever it was tonight.
Mhm.
Sure, it was the rest of the episode was still really interesting. If you could still make a good episode,
Mhm.
even on a vote like that. Clearly, they just did it, and there's going to be other times where there's flips. Like the players now are they're not willing to sit there like the old school. It's like, hey, I'm in a 5-person alliance at the final 9. Like we have to stick together, or else like it's a problem. And then it's like, well, if now it's there's a 5-person alliance at the final 7, and if I try to flip and I'm wrong, like I'm gonna go home. Like I'm not even gonna make the final 5 anymore. And like people just don't think like that anymore. Everyone is a lot more willing to go home 7th trying to win than to be a losing finalist.
Yeah, I mean, we're watching through Marquesas right now, and it is like a documentary. Like it's not even like like a reality show. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not just like the case anymore. Like there's no world in which like you could have no hidden immunity idols. You can go back to the rules from day one, and it would never again feel like a documentary.
Yeah, you must be still in the pre-merge, huh?
No,
Oh, really? Where are
yeah,
you?
we
Who just went home?
who just went. John went, and then who goes after him? Do you remember?
I believe it's is the general still in the game?
Yes.
It's not Zoe. It's the
You're
other
not gonna
chick, I
spoil
think.
You're not gonna spoil anything for me.
Oh, it is Zoe. Zoe goes home 8th.
Oh, okay. I think John just went and let me see. Sorry, I'm just looking it up.
John going home is like one of my favorite votes ever.
It is a good vote. Yes. Um, I like it. I like the season. Don't get me wrong. It's a good like I like it way better than um Africa for sure. Um, but I don't know. It's just like even though it is interesting, I'm not saying it's not interesting either. Like it's just it reads like a documentary. It doesn't read
Yeah.
like a reality show at all.
The other aspect to those seasons is you could lean on the terrain. Like there's a lot of reward challenges where those are always cool to me. The reward challenges where you're gonna go to like a local village. I'm like,
Yeah.
how does this even get fucking set up? But it's like,
They went scuba diving. I think
yeah. Or
Kathy
like when
goes
when
scuba diving.
uh when Ethan and Lex have to go to the village and like try to sell the goat or whatever, like that's fucking great.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. But never like no matter what they do, it wouldn't go back to like that type of people just don't play like that anymore and they understand how reality TV works and
Yeah.
it just I don't know. They try so hard to like ultimately just piss off their fans. I don't like I don't
Like,
know.
hey, we have this cult following. Let's see if we could fucking shed them.
Yeah, they're like, how do we get new viewership? And everyone's like, buddy, like you're not getting any new
Right.
viewership. You've been on
They're like,
for
oh, we put two
25
seasons on.
years.
We put our two best seasons on Netflix, and now there's like 20,000 more people that want to watch the show. It's like great. Like, um, okay. Last thing we got to do, real quick here.
Chung chung.
It's the done chains. So it's mine to give. Finally, Chrissy was my
Fine.
player. Um, so I did Charity and Say. They're both gone. I have nobody left in the game
Nice.
with a done chain. You have done Say and Cedric. You also did Chrissy last week.
I did.
Good, brava.
Thanks.
You still have Mary, Mitch, and David in the
Did David last week as well. That's looking good.
yeah. It's basically between two people for me here. It's between David and Mitch. I feel strongly that David will go soon, and even if he doesn't go soon, I think his agency is severely being diminished. It is dropping at a rapid pace here. Mitch, I don't necessarily think he's going next. I do think he'll probably go soon, and I don't really think he has a shot to win. I think he's probably the my number one pick for will not make final tribal council. Like I'd give him like a 0% on that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Can I pitch you something here?
yeah,
My pitch for you is that do you think Kyle, Camilla, or Star will go next week?
no.
So then you should probably pick David because if you think Mitch is not going to go next week, you can always pick Mitch next week.
Oh, because those are your players, and
Yes.
so I will be picking anyway, no matter what. I was leaning David anyway. I think you put the nail on the coffin there
That was a
on
little of
David.
your logic that you usually use.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll do David. I mean, it's just I think the his edit's been interesting where he was being built up into this like
He's had an arc here.
yeah, and it felt like he was getting the like here's the rootable guy,
Mm-hmm.
and now he's like very much not.
Yeah,
And
like
I just
instantly though.
but hey, it's a mystery. They're not
That's
they're
true.
not telling
Yeah,
the
yeah.
story.
Like he was like the entire pre-merge. Like you, this is the guy you want. Like the feel-good story, and then all of
Right.
a sudden it's just
One of
like
three feel good stories.
right, right.
This is our normal feel good story. We also have Eva and Mitch this season.
Yeah, so we
Who
have
are
three
one off type feel good stories
high,
here.
medium, and low feel-good stories.
Right.
Pick the path you like. Choose your
Yeah.
adventure. Season 50.
In the hands of fans. He always says it's so weird in the commercial.
He does.
All right. Well, yeah. So that's gonna do it. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. However you're listening right now, feel free to check one of the other ones out. On social media, you can follow on TikTok, the.reality.gurus. You could also follow on Instagram at the Reality Gurus. If you don't have anything else, go ahead
Nope.
and close up shop here. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you all next time.